In other news, yet another missing person report has been filed in conjunction with last week's disappearance of Chastity Rife, age 9, from Lenmo Park in Willoughby. Ivan Dillich flicked off the news and turned to look at his son lying in bed. There's never anything good on the news. Nothing but rubbish stories. I might as well not watch any of it, he said, shaking his head.
I'm going to die, aren't I? Asked Lucas. Tell me the truth. I can take it.
He was pale and glassy-eyed, sick with a virus. His parents smiled weakly, displaying a false sense of confidence that he saw through with ease.
Honey, you'll be fine, I promise,
said his mother, giving his leg a gentle squeeze. She stood at the foot of his bed, observing him.
I don't feel fine. I've been sick so often, and my stomach is killing me,
he pleaded, sitting up and clutching at his guts. Even now the pain was nearly unbearable, a cross between agony and hunger. Son, we told you already. You must lie here until the symptoms pass. We promise. You'll feel much better in no time. His father produced the familiar red-tinted bottle with the white safety cap and began to pull a dose of medicine.
I don't want any. My stomach is...
He doubled over in pain. In tandem, his stomach and upper back began to tighten and spasm.
I'm dying. I'm going to die.
His father forced the syringe into his mouth and depressed the plunger. The bitter saccharine cherry flavor burst across his tongue. Almost immediately, the pains began to subside and drowsiness overtook him.
I'm going to die,
Lucas muttered as he lost consciousness once again. His parents lingered for a few moments more, holding one another.
Ivan, he's having such a hard time,
said his mother, burying her face in Ivan's chest. There, Melissa. We knew this would be a long road for him. We must keep reminding ourselves that he'll be okay. Just a few more days at this rate and he'll be fine. He patted his wife lovingly on the back and kissed her forehead.
I know. I just hate to see him suffer so, she said,
wiping away the tears. Me too. He's my boy, and it's no easier for me. He looked down at the bottle in his hand. Just 1 or 2 more doses left. He gave a sigh of relief, knowing that the vigil would soon end. It began just after Lucas's 13th birthday. He came down with a virus and ran a high fever for a week, spending most of the time in bed. Then, inexplicably, the symptoms left and he was back on his feet as if nothing had happened. Soon, however, the symptoms came back. The fever was higher and lasted longer. This time he complained of body aches, chills, and insomnia. The doctor ran a battery of tests and found nothing out of the ordinary. We're checking to see if it might be Lyme disease, as the ticks have been very active this season, but I'm not expecting a positive result. It's likely just a virus. Keep him full of fluids, use Tylenol to keep the fever down, and make sure he's getting plenty of rest. I'm confident this will pass in time. Time had certainly passed. 2 months came and went. Lucas appeared to improve, only to relapse again. More tests, nothing new to report. A virus, no infection, nothing to be overly worried about. Lucas, however, lived in continual quiet terror. He knew what it was like to get a cold, the flu, and even strep throat, but this was different. The pains were unfamiliar and frightening. The fevers brought on sleepless nights, and when he did manage to sleep, the dreams were disturbing. He kept a diary between his mattresses, away from his parents. He could safely communicate his fears in those pages without judgment. The last thing he wanted was to burden his parents. He wrote twice a day, once in the morning and again at night before bed, as a way of tracking his own progress and as a sort of therapy for his mind.
I think I'm going to die. I know Mom and Dad tell me that I'm going to be okay, but I really think I'm going to die. My body hurts so bad sometimes that I want to die. I keep having these dreams where my bones break and poke through my skin like giant spikes. I feel all of them breaking and stabbing through. Also, in the dreams, I'm hungry. I'm starving, but when I wake up, there's nothing I can think of that will fill my stomach. Then I feel sick again, like I'm going to throw up, and I don't want to eat anything anymore. I wonder if I have cancer. They won't even take me to see the doctor anymore. Grandma May died of cancer. They kept telling her that she wasn't going to die, so she wouldn't worry. And they stopped taking her to the doctor, too. But I think she knew. She probably felt just like I do right now.
It was true. They had stopped taking him to the doctor, even though he had begged them to take him. "We've talked to the doctor already," he had said. "He directed us to give you this medicine and let you rest. We're doing just what the doctor has ordered. You'll be all better soon." He suspected that the medicine was just another part of the lie. The only thing the medicine ever did was leave a bitter taste in his mouth and knock him out for several hours at a time. That's what they did to people when they were going to die. Gave them drugs to help them ignore the pain. He knew that's what they were doing, and that one day he might not wake up at all. Inevitably, he always woke up, groggy from the medication and feeling just as bad as before. He would lie awake in his bed, alone, until they came home from work to check on him. "How are you today, Lucas? Are you feeling any better?" "I'm okay," he'd reply. "I think I might be doing a little better." Lies. He fed them lies so they wouldn't worry. "I'm so glad to hear you're feeling a little better. It won't be much longer, and then you won't be sick anymore." The medicine, the plunger, the cherry flavor, and once again the deep sleep. How many days had he lost this way? One day, he had no idea what day it was anymore. He woke. He felt wakeful, but everything was black. He reached up and touched his eyes. His fingers met the cool, moist surface of his eyeballs, but he couldn't see. He was blind. "Mom! Dad! Hurry!" he screamed, blinking his eyes wildly as if he could wash the blackness away. He could hear the pounding of their footsteps as they mounted the staircase and bounded down the hallway. His door swung open and there was a dual gasp from his parents. "Oh, Ivan, look!" shrieked his mother. "Yes, it's exactly what we thought. It has happened earlier than expected. Lucas, don't panic, son," he said calmly. "Dad, I'm blind. My eyes don't work. It's a brain tumor or a stroke, and now I've lost my sight. Call an ambulance." There was a long silence. Lucas heard his own panting breaths, but nothing else. "Son, I need you to be calm," said his father, placing a hand upon Lucas's shoulder. Lucas jumped at the touch. "Dad, what's happening to me?" "We've always known this might happen, but we weren't certain when. There's really no way to tell." "What are you talking about? Why can't I see?" he spat back, disgusted that they had kept information from him. "Lucas, don't be mad. It didn't happen to me until I was 18 and your mother until she was 20. Happen? What's happening to me?" "Stop panicking. Close your eyes. How do you feel? Really think about it. How are you feeling?" "I'm blind. I feel like I'm blind," he shouted, boiling with rage. "You're not blind, son. Close your eyes." Lucas did as he was told, despite the foolishness of the request. What difference did closing your eyes make when you were already blind? As he did, he noticed something happening. Reds, blues, yellows and oranges began to fade in. He was viewing his bedroom through different eyes, different than he had before. His parents were visible, only through a haze of reds and yellows, like an infrared scan. What am I seeing? What is this? "Lucas, these are your new eyes. Your old ones will adjust in time so that you'll be able to use both. These ones, however, are more useful." "Useful for what? How is this useful?" There was a movement at the foot of his bed, apart from his parents. An additional red shape, vague at first, but clearer as he focused on it. It was a squirrel. No, it was a rabbit. His gut spasmed with hunger and he groaned. The muscles in his back tightened and knotted. "Ah, my back, my stomach, he cried, grabbing the sheets and squeezing madly in an attempt to cope with the discomfort. Through his new eyes, he watched the red form of the rabbit take one hop, then two. On the third hop, however, his body reacted involuntarily. Two long, bony arms extended from behind him across the bed, and in one motion snatched the rabbit into its claws. The room was punctuated by a squeal and the sound of many small snapping bones. He opened his mouth to scream for help, but nothing came except a low gurgling sound. His mouth opened wide, jaw distended, hanging loosely. The bone claws tossed the rabbit backward into his gaping maw. He chewed madly, feasting like a wild animal, and swallowed. The flavor was new and delicious. In that moment, he felt wonderful, healthier than he had been in months. "Lucas, how do you feel now?" his father asked again. I feel good. Finally, I feel well again." "I knew you would. We couldn't do anything for you until we knew for sure that you were changing. Not everyone survives the process. We gave you the medicine to help you through the pain, and it looks like it worked just in time. We were almost out of the stuff, and it's difficult to come by." "What's happened to me? What am I?" Ethan opened his eyelids in an attempt to use his old sense of sight. Though foggy, he could make out the blurry form of his parents. "I can see you again. My old eyes are working a little," he said, rubbing them in an attempt to clear them faster. "Good, son. That's an amazingly fast recovery. Usually it takes a couple of days." Opening his eyes once more, he could clearly see his parents. They were the same as before, but waving involuntarily behind them were long, powerful skeletal arms protruding from their shoulders. "What are those things?" he asked, pointing to the new appendages. "You have them too. They are, for lack of a better description, like the forelegs of a praying mantis. Don't worry. After you've eaten, they retract back into your shoulders. It's going to hurt for a little while until you build up some calluses." Lucas reached behind his own shoulder and caught hold of two arm-like structures protruding from his shoulder blades. He ran his hand along the length. They were cold, smooth, and hard like granite. As he did so, they began to shrink and retract back into his shoulder. The burning sensation was horrendous. "Ah, it burns," he hissed. "I know it does. It will subside," said his father. Lucas blinked his eyes. One moment, he saw clearly, as he always had, and in the next, he was viewing the world through heat signatures like a snake. It would take getting used to. Even now, he noticed that he was feeling better, stronger, and more alert. The food had helped. "Dad, how often will I need to eat? Stuff like that." He motioned to the place where the rabbit had been. "In the beginning, it will be a couple times a week. Later on, you'll only hunt once a month. As you grow, however, you'll need larger prey," he said, trying to avoid contact with Lucas. "Larger prey? Like a dog? I love dogs. I don't want to eat someone's dog," he replied in disgust. "Trust me, when the time comes, you'll find that your senses will take over and you won't worry about what it is you're eating. When you're stronger, we'll walk down to Lenmo Park Playground at dusk. There's always more than enough to eat there as long as we're quiet and very careful."